Hey guys, welcome back to another Culture Boys discussion. I'm Pepe and I'm joined by Nathan. And today we're going to be talking about the film Your Name. Yay!
Hey.
Yes. So this anime film, came out in 2016. It was massive at the time. Everyone was going crazy about it. But
Mhm.
I've watched it. Nathan hasn't. So we're going to be going through that today. How are you, Nathan?
I'm very well, thank you, sir. It is my first ever time seeing this film as of yesterday, so quite an interesting watch. But before we do it, how are you? How are you, man? How are you doing?
I'm good, very well. It's watching this film was kind of like it's been years and years since I've seen it, and I've only seen it the one time. So like part of me remembers what goes down, but
Mhm.
like it's all the intricacies in it where you're like, oh yeah, this happened. It's like if any rewatch that you haven't seen in a while, it's like, oh okay, I'm enjoying this. And there's a reason why I enjoyed this so much and I've forgotten those reasons. But before we get
Nice.
any further into that, Nathan, do you want to give the breakdown of Your Name?
Sure. So, your name or Kimi no Nawa uh, trips me up every time I read the Japanese name because
Mhm.
I know name in Japanese is namai, so it's just weird that it's Kimi no Nawa instead of Kimi no Namae wa. But then I guess it turns it into a question. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so like, is the Japanese title more of like a Your Name as in what is your name, or is it like
I think
is it just called Your Name?
it's called it basically is your name. I guess they just shorten Namai to Na. I guess that's the thing you can do. I don't know. I don't actually know enough Japanese or enough about Japanese to definitively say yes or no. Um,
Okay, yeah.
but
Well, there we go.
whatever.
That's it. Cool.
Directed and written by Makoto Shinkai, who is apparently, I say apparently because I don't remember the articles from a long time ago, back when this film came
Mhm.
out. Um, worked apprenticed or worked with Hayao Miyazaki at Studio Ghibli before they left. So
Okay.
I believe this is their this might be their directorial debut, or they might have directed one film before this, but like this is definitely their
Yeah.
first like
Your
solo
Name is
thing.
one that's definitely kind of like established like, oh, this is a Shinkai film.
Yeah,
Like,
like
and
so
there's other films that kind of establish that as well, but we'll get into that in a bit. We'll get
yeah,
into that.
so this is like, as far as I'm aware, this is this is definitely their first solo film, but may also be directorial debut. Music by Radwimps, which is awesome because I mean Radwimps is good band. Animated by Comics, Wave Films, distributed by Toho, released July 3rd, 2016 at Anime Expo and August 26th, 2016 in Japan. Wikipedia did not have a worldwide uh, release date for
Mhm.
this film. It just said Anime Expo and Japan. Don't know why. And a runtime of 107 minutes. So it's not
It's a
not
long
too
film.
long,
Well,
not
like
too short.
it's like
Like,
it's a decent amount. It's a decent amount.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the film itself, Mitsuha and Taki are total strangers living completely different lives. But when Mitsuha makes a wish to leave her mountain town for the bustling city of Tokyo, they become connected in a bizarre way. She dreams she's a boy living in Tokyo, while Taki dreams he's a girl from a rural town he's never visited. What does their newfound connection mean, and how will it bring them together? From Crunchyroll.
Ironic because for us it's not on Crunchyroll.
Yep, that fooled me.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
friggin' damn it.
I think it is like I think they upload the Shinkai films every now and then because I know for a fact that Suzume, which is
Mhm.
his most recent film, is on Crunchyroll.
And
Um,
that's also on
but
Netflix for us.
it is. Yeah, so that I think like that I remember when that released, that was like a huge thing because I think everyone knew like bear in mind, I think like I just looked at it now, like what Shinkai's works have been. I think the earliest count of like what his works are that were quite big from what I know of is the film 5 centimeters per second. I don't know if you ever heard of
Never
it or
heard of
watched
it.
it. So I know that one to be a massive one. Like I know like
Okay.
people went crazy over that. That was in 2007. He's done other stuff before then. Like stuff that I don't really know as
Wow.
big as like The Place Promised in our early days. I don't know that
Never
one
heard of
so
that.
much. And then there's a couple others. But Your Name is definitely feels like the one which is like the biggest. Like that felt like the thing that kind of like, oh, this is a Shinkai film. And everyone was like, yeah, yeah, watch this, watch this. And then Weathering with You came out in 2019 and Suzume in 2022. Which are like, and those three films are like, oh, the everyone was like they were talking about was like, this is a
What was
Shinkai
that
film.
middle one?
Weathering with You.
Never heard of it.
See, that was like that felt like it was kind of big. I think Suzume has got a bigger like response to it. I know for sure people did like I know people got like really hyped about Weathering with You, but like it didn't feel as big in my opinion.
Huh.
Like Suzume
Weird.
feels like the bigger out of the
It
if I was to compare Weathering and
I
Suzume,
didn't
Suzume
I
felt like a lot
literally
more.
didn't know there was another one. Like, I
Yeah.
only know Your Name and Suzume. I literally this is the first time I'm ever hearing of this other one. When did that come out?
Yeah. 2019 Weathering with You.
Huh.
Yeah, so
I have
all
no
these have been basically
recollection of this film.
3 years apart. I don't know, like apparently it's good. Maybe we'll get into those at another point or whatever. Maybe it's something to consider.
Maybe.
But first, let's jump into Your Name, Nathan.
Yes,
You've
yes,
never
yes,
seen it
yes.
before. What were your thoughts? I wanna get this. Hear
I
this.
was pleasantly surprised. Not because
Okay,
I
yeah.
didn't think I would enjoy it. It's just all I remember from trailers and things was it's about a guy and a girl, and they're somehow connected, but they're not in the same location. And that was all I've ever known about this film. Besides also, hype and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so when you watch it, and I mean, do we have to give a spoiler warning? It's
It's one of those ones like we'll
like
be talking about the
it's
ending
an
regardless.
8-year-old
So
film. Like,
yeah, and if you're watching like this kind of video, you gotta be anticipating this kind of. So there will be spoilers, but yeah, we just don't
I
mention that
mean,
now. But yeah, go for it, go for it.
yeah, okay. Spoiler warning, I guess, because I mean, there's probably people like me who haven't seen it yet. I mean, I watched it yesterday, and it was if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't have seen it anyway. But right, um, yeah, I just wasn't expecting a lot of the stuff. I
Hmm.
mean, knowing what I sort of know, like that Shinkai's like got some sort of link to Miyazaki, I could
Hmm.
predict that their link is something sort of spiritual or whatever, you know what I mean? Like as it is, like
Hmm.
the sort of mystical, like the threads of time, like
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. Like if I thought about it, probably could have come up with that as one of the things that I'm like, oh, that's how they're connected. I wasn't expecting the sort of Freaky Friday thing.
Oh,
That
really? Okay.
even though I have the breakdown and I copied and pasted that before I
Hmm.
watched the film, I didn't actually read it. So I wasn't
Hmm.
expecting the Freaky Friday thing. I
Hmm.
thought it was more an exploration of how they try to find each other because of this weird link. Again, based off the very few things I actually knew, I didn't connect a lot of dots.
Yeah. That's, like, quite interesting because, like, I remember, like, I went into this completely blind, like, when I first watched it. I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, everyone's hyping this up." I didn't watch a trailer. I didn't watch anything. I was like, "You know what? People are talking about this a lot. I'm gonna go into this blind. I'm gonna see what it's about." So I had no expectations from it whatsoever. I assumed it was gonna be good animation because everyone was going crazy about that, and it looked quite good from the poster and that. The only thing
Hmm.
I had to go off of was a poster that I saw on the tube. Like, this is how big it was back then. It was like they were getting like tube like, on the underground in London. There were like loads of advertisements for this, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this really is." You don't often see that in the UK. That was one of the things that I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, this must be quite big." If an anime film is getting advertisements, yes, you don't ever see that. um, But, so I remember this, arrived on Netflix at one point. I was like, "Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna give it a shot then." And I went in there and I was completely blown away by it because I never expected anything, and I was like, "Oh," like, you know me as well, Nathan. I'm a
Yeah,
slice of
this is
life guy.
totally up your
Yeah.
street for sure.
Yeah. This is like I feel like this was before I got, like, heavily into a lot of slice of life series as well, like,
Okay.
I've gotten into 'em a lot more over the past few years, but I think I watched this, like, maybe it may have been 2019, I think, because it must have, like, had a gap, like, for it to go to Netflix or whatever. I can't remember the exact year I watched this, but I did know that I really enjoyed it and, like, was not expecting the supernatural part of it. Like, I kind of, like, watched it, I was like, "Oh, okay, so they're switching places, that's cool." But I didn't expect it to be like, "Oh, it's because of this wish that got made or whatever." I
Mm.
just thought, "Oh, like, they'll just try and resolve it or whatever," and, like, with films like Freaky Friday, there is always like, "Oh, it." I can't actually remember why they switched places. Wasn't it just like, I can't actually remember the whole thing of why they
I
switched places in
don't
Freaky Friday. Was it
remember.
like yeah, it's like some kind of voodoo magic or something. It's always like some
Yeah,
kind of
something
voodoo
like that. It
magic,
was
like
like
yeah.
some sort of artifact or statue or something that was sent to them, and then they were both holding it and like, "I hate you" or whatever. Some
Mm.
crap like that.
With this though, in Your Name, they put it down to it's the family are kind of connected to this what
God.
like this kind of the threads of time or something. It's like some kind like
Well,
basically
so it's Mitsuha's
Mitsuha's family.
family is
Yeah.
they're shrine maidens, and they're maidens for a god called Musubi, and Musubi
Yes.
stands for like links because her grandma
Mhm.
was like, it's connecting. It's always about connecting. It's like the connection, the linking of this thing to that thing. That's Musubi. This person to that person. That's Musubi. Like, so
Mhm.
it's like Musubi the god and Musubi the word is
Mhm.
like connection.
Yeah. And it's like it kind of like it's been building for like centuries or like decades basically
Yeet.
because even the grandma says that like both her and Mitsuha's mum have experienced the swapping thing before and it's been a dream but obviously like they never really had the connection that like Mitsuha and Taki have in this like Mitsuha and Taki kind of have that kind of like they bond like a lot over the switching bodies
Mm,
thing and then it all becomes like, oh, there's like a purpose for this in some way. Like they can stop, like or like in the end, like there's that meteor that comes down, basically wipes out
yeah.
Mitsuha's whole village, basically. And like together, Mitsuha and Taki work together in some kind of way to actually save the village from being absolutely annihilated. Like it comes down to that. Like you never expect that from the early stages of the film either. Like, I
Oh, bro,
remember,
like
like
even from the
yeah,
trailers and stuff,
yeah.
I didn't get any sense that there was some sort
Mhm.
of disaster to happen in the film. Like again, I thought the whole thing was just gonna be slice of lifey, like, you know, girl
Mhm.
and guy are connected and then they try and find each other. I didn't think they were gonna
Mhm.
find each other because of a friggin' comet comes down and like explodes a
And
town.
yeah. And, like, the way it builds up is so well because I think it's up until, like, halfway of the film. You're so used to these 2 characters switching places and working together, be like, "Oh, don't do this when you're in my body," or "Don't
Yeah.
do this," like, "We're gonna set some ground rules." And then it gets to the point where Taki goes on a date with, his, senpai, and then it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'll tell her how the date goes," and then it's like, "Well, I never switched places with Mitsuha again after that," and it's like, "What?" No, I wanna like, you can't stop it there, I wanna keep on seeing these 2 characters, like, interact with each other in the way that they do. Like, because there is no interaction at all, it's like the only form of interaction they have is sending each other messages when they do switch, and it
See,
becomes
but
quite wholesome from there.
they like cover it up still though that like because just he's like ringing and then it swaps to
Mhm,
Mitsuha and then it's like, oh, the summer festival, the Matsuri, and then she's like running up on the hill and she's like, look, you can
mhm,
see it, and then you see the comet.
mhm.
and then it cuts from her, and you're just like, I don't, I was not suspecting even at that point
Mhm.
that, oh, the part that splits off from the comet nukes the town of
Yeah.
Itomori,
Yeah.
right? I thought she just looked at it and was just like, life changing event, like
Mhm.
I
No,
mean, yes,
essentially.
life changing, well, life taking, but
Mhm. Mhm. Oh,
yeah,
yeah, jeez.
right. Like I thought it was just one of those where it was like, oh yeah, comet, and then she just, I don't know, like she just never picked up her phone because she was just so amazed.
Mhm.
Or she didn't have her phone because she was going to the festival or some shit like that. I don't know. I was not
Mm.
expecting town got obliterated.
Yeah. It's mad, like, also, like, I didn't expect like, I remember with my first watch through, I was not expecting it to be a time travel thing either.
Mm.
Like, they're literally communicating to each other 3 years between, which is insane. Like, you just think, "Oh, they're both in the same, like, time period or something." You never expect that this is a 3-year distance. Um, and it's one of those ones that, like, thinking about it on my second watch through, I was like, "Did they never even check the date or anything like that?" Like, that
Well,
they
they
go to
do though,
school in
because
each
they
other's
like
body.
they have the calendar and the diary. So I
Yeah.
think it's not, they make it seem like it's like
Mhm.
they're in sync on the timeline up until that one moment when he's
Mm.
like, and I never swapped with her again because
Yeah.
she died.
Mm.
I don't know,
So
man. I d-
I like, my one thing is like, oh no, like, trying to, like, in a skeptical way. When you're in school, like, you write days down, like, oh, like, this is
yeah.
the day I've been taking these notes. Like, you always write the day, month, and year. That's my personal thing anyway. Like, I don't know if it works differently out there, but like, I think, well, that's one of the first things I probably would notice if I'm in school and taking notes is like, oh, okay, I write the year. Maybe it just didn't, like, maybe it is one of those simple things that you don't pick up on. But at that point, for storytelling purposes, it would absolutely, like, ruin the whole concept of the film. You'd know immediately, like, oh shit, I'm in a different time period. That'd be
Okay,
the first
talking
thing that
about
they'd
time
notice.
periods though, can you
Yes,
explain to me,
yes.
because I don't understand, right? Why is it when he discovers that they were 3 years apart,
Hmm.
or that he's now ahead and she's past?
Hmm.
Why is it then, only then, that the journal entries on his phone start getting deleted? Also, how would that even work? Do you know what I mean? Like, that is a part I never
Yeah.
understood.
That is something that's, quite weird because it's like the universe, like, erasing their bond completely. Because obviously he starts forgetting her name as well and
Mm,
forgetting all the stuff. Like, he's like, "Oh, I've got," he knows that he's done these drawings of Itadori, but he has no reason why. Like, he just looks at it and I'm like, why am I drawing all this stuff? And, like, he knows that he's been drawn to this place, but he has no recollection of it, and it feels like it's the universe erasing that bond or, like,
okay.
severing those threads, arguably. That's how I get it anyway, that's how I perceive it. Um, but, like, it even, like, comes into it a little bit when, like, towards the end of the film where, like, they even though they fix everything, like, they save the town, there's still the bit where, like, I don't remember her name and, like, I just know that I was drawn to someone. Like, they
Yeah, I'm
like
looking for something or someone. I don't know
yeah,
what I'm looking for.
yeah. They still have that inkling, but they have no idea what it is because they just don't know each other's names or have no knowledge of each other. They
Mm,
just know that there was a
okay.
connection there. That's my interpretation of it anyway.
Dang.
Um,
Universe, you crazy. Universe can start fucking with
yeah,
phones now?
yeah.
Universe, you crazy.
you know, gods, man, like, something out of the realm possibilities. You gotta, like, sort that shit out.
True, true. Musubi,
Yeah.
Musubi giveth, Musubi taketh away.
Masubi be wild, you know. um, but, like, the story is, like, fantastic, and this is one thing. Like, obviously, you've been getting in. Like, I've kind of been pushing you into the slice of life direction a lot more
Yeah.
in, like, these, like, over the past year. I think I've been, like, trialing things with you in terms of, like, like romance stuff or like slice of life stuff, all this kind of stuff. So like with this,
Mhm.
like obviously, how like did you enjoy this film then? Like did you enjoy it, or like would you say that you're a little bit more skeptical of it, like going into it? Like what are your thoughts in
I
terms of
really
like
liked
the
it.
whole film?
I
Mm,
figured from the trailer when when I watched the trailer years and years back, probably
mm-hmm,
actually back in 2016. Um,
mm-hmm,
like knew I was gonna enjoy watching it because it's beautiful. Like everything
mm-hmm,
else aside, visually, it's beautiful, very well done. But I did actually quite enjoy the story. Like it's I don't know. I guess it's because it's like fish out of water, like kind of story because they're
mm-hmm,
both just out of their comfort zones. They've not only completely swapped genders, one's from the big
mm-hmm,
city, one's from the boonies. They're both experiencing like the complete opposite of their lives. And
mm-hmm,
it was like, I don't know, it's seeing the interactions between the characters, seeing them figure it out, leave each other notes, and then
mm-hmm,
sort of like the underlying friendship or relationship like growing as well because they've got that whole scene where they're like, "Oh my god, you did this! Don't do this! Oh my god, you spent my money! Stop spending my
yeah,
money!" But
yeah,
I'm eating for you, and then they're like writing on themselves so that they wake up and see
yeah,
messages and stuff. Like, I liked all of that. That was really funny and like it's quite
yeah,
wholesome to see. Realistically, that's also probably what would happen
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, like for me, like the first part of the film where they get to know each other a lot more actually probably is my favorite. It doesn't take away from the fact that obviously the rest of the film is still amazing, like with the way that they work together and
Mm,
like the way that they try and the way that Taki tries to like meet Mitsuha. It is like it's all really cool and it's good to see that. But I think the body switching thing actually probably was my favorite part of the film because it was quite funny and you see their relationship grow from that, even if it is like just through messages. It was like you said, it's quite wholesome and it's quite
mm.
funny to see that. And obviously, like I know you mentioned earlier, Radwimps did the songs over the top of it and stuff.
Oh man,
Um, the song Zen 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 is playing over that
yes.
moment, and it is like that is like bear in mind, I watched it yesterday. I was like, okay, I want to add more Radwimps songs to our Culture Boys playlist that we have. But like, Zen 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 has always stuck with me ever since first saw that film.
I was gonna
So,
say it's because like
yeah.
that was when that came on. I was like, "Oh, it's this song. I know this
Yeah,
song." I was
yeah.
like, "That's what it's
Yeah.
from." Okay. I was like, "This
Yeah,
song is
yeah,
amazing. I fucking love this song." I also like Radwimps. Like I've listened to
yeah.
some of their other songs, so I was like, "Hey,
Okay,
yo,
yeah.
fucking Radwimps did the soundtrack," and then that song
Yeah.
like Zen Zen Zen. So I was like, "Dang."
Yeah, it's funny because I remember funny enough, I remember when Taiko no Tatsujin had its first PS4 game out
Hmm.
over here. I was like, "Oh, cool, I'll get this," and then Zen 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 was on it, and I was like,
Ah.
"Oh, this song's pretty cool. I like this song." And then I actually found out that that was a song from Your Name, like later on. So that was quite a cool one.
I
That
love
was an
that
interesting
every time
thing.
we do a series and it's like been out for a while and I watch it and it always comes back like, oh, I finally have context for where this song came from.
There's so many songs on our playlist that you've probably heard before, and it's quite funny that it's a running theme. That you hear the song before you know the context of what it's
Oh,
actually from.
it's
I love,
it's
yeah.
like so funny because like by this point, like I've been listening to this playlist for a few years now, and I'm like
Hmm.
still discovering where a lot of these songs are like featured in.
Yeah. It's good though. Like I haven't actually heard any other Radrim songs apart from the ones in this film actually though. So I'll
I
probably have
can't
to check out more
remember
of their
some
stuff
of
a
the
bit
other
later.
ones I've heard, but like, yeah, no, Radwimps is a amazing band. They're so good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
clearly
I'll have
from
to
just the one song "Zen Zen Zen," like you can see,
yeah.
but like the whole soundtrack was really good,
Hmm.
and I like it.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you compose for a film, you
Hmm.
you get to have a sense of what the mood of the film is. But I thought the soundtrack
Mhm.
really did fit very well in like
There's
all the scenes where
yeah.
it played.
You know the song, oh, what was it? Was Sparkle is called.
Mm,
Like it's an 8-minute long song. I
yeah.
realized this and I think like over time where like I got like my hype wasn't as big because I was seeing the film, but obviously 2 years down the line or whatever, I'm like, okay, cool, this song pops. I end up skipping this quite a bit because it was 8 minutes long.
I don't blame you
So
there.
like
Like,
yeah, like some like even though I love like because it's the moment where like Mitsuha's trying to save the town
mm,
and like that song plays over it and like she's still remembering Taki and all those kind of things but she's like obviously the memories are slowly slipping but she knows she has to save the town and all those kind of thing it's like that's a very emotional song playing in the background but it's so good like the way
mm.
they match the tones of it like because Zen 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 is such an upbeat one and that's where it brings in the chaos of them swapping bodies but Sparkle is one of those ones where it's like it's slower it's emotional but like you get a bit where like Mitsuha's trying to like desperately trying to get the town evacuated. So it's like it's two completely different moods in two different songs, but it like they hit so well. Like it like it is spot on. I love those. I love those two songs. Those two particularly stick out to me. Um and it's along with the animation, like you said, the animation is beautiful in this. Like
It
bear in mind,
really
like
is.
2016, that's so it's where we're hitting like animation's good anyway. Like animation always
Mm,
improves. Like and especially when you have a movie like this where it's not a series, it's literally just like this, like you said, 107, 110 minute long movie.
yeah.
Um like they have the time to perfect it and make it look as good as it can be for that runtime. And it is beautiful, like you said, it is absolutely stunning with it.
I didn't
And you
look
can
it
tell
up,
like
but
yeah, go on.
I need to see if it was done digitally or if it was still like the traditional style.
Mhm.
Because like
Yeah.
if it was done digitally, then they did a great job because it still kind of has that like hand animated feel, like pen and paper kind of feel. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know because like that's also a time period that's like hard to tell because 2016 is where like a lot of anime are more digital than traditional styles, you know.
Mhm.
So I'd just be interested to know.
But yeah, obviously, like this is like we said, this like kind of felt like this is what kind of kickstarted Shinkai's like notoriety in the West, in my opinion.
Mm,
That's when it started coming through. Like, oh, your name is getting popular, and now it's like Miyazaki, he's become a name. Like if you know the name, then like it's it's that thing that you want to watch for. It's like, oh, this is Shinkai's new film. You're like, oh, how to watch it because it's Shinkai's new film. It's like it's the same way that Ghibli it's like, oh, Miyazaki's got this new thing out. You're like, okay, I gotta watch it because it's like we know that he's good with what he does. So like that felt like for me. This is why was it Your Name, Weathering with You, and Suzume feel like quite big films because it's all like, oh, this is a Shinkai film, and like people know like
mm.
that he's known for this kind of thing. So I feel like at this point, I feel like we have to watch the next two films. I haven't seen Weathering or Suzume, so I'd be really interested in those.
I know nothing about Weathering a U, so I'd be interested.
Hmm.
But Suzume more so now that I've seen this one because I remember the
Hmm.
posters of Suzume and the trailers,
Yeah,
and there's that like doorway on a small bit of land
yeah,
in like a lake, and now I'm
yeah.
like,
It's like the reflective water in it, where it looks
yeah,
like so clean. Yeah.
and but like because where Mitsuha and her sister and her grandma's like, oh, this is where the god is.
Yeah.
And they get to that one point where she's like, "This is the barrier to the other world,"
Mhm.
and it's just at the edge of a body of water, and Musubi is in like a piece of land in this sort of like moat lake, and now I'm like,
Mhm.
is this gonna be a Shinkai like running theme, or is this like some
Mm.
sort of link to back to Your Name, where in Suzume this mysterious doorway on an like island in a lake is
Mhm.
another god or Masubi itself, and we are still
Mm.
doing these like themes of link, you know, and
Yeah. Is
connection.
it like
Like,
all in the same kind of universe, like,
yeah,
in a way? Like, yeah, yeah. Like, it might not be Masubi, but it might be like another god of some kind, maybe. Like, maybe it is more focused around those. Um, I'm really curious about it because obviously people went crazy over Suzume as well. I
mm,
don't know if there is like a direct link to Your Name, and like for all I know, it could be, but I regardless, it makes me so hyped to see these films. It's like watching this yesterday. Like even though I watched Your Name years and years ago, I was like, this makes me hyped to see these other films that he's done, and it makes me really want to like see them. Like especially like imagine seeing these in the cinema as well on like a big screen. Like it'd be so fucking cool.
that would be cool, but
Yeah.
we've missed the chance every time.
Yeah. I'm hoping that, like, some like because you see, like, a lot of re-releases with these kind of films in, like,
Yeah,
cinema,
true,
like,
true.
usually it's for, like, 10 usually it is for, like, 10-year anniversaries or, like, whatever, but, like, I'm hoping that at some point they'll be like, "Oh, they're re-releasing this." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I've gotta try and book tickets for it." Like, it'd be, like, a weird, like, 1 day or 1 week thing, but I'd be like, "I wanna watch this."
See, it's funny though, because like saying that is like Your Name. I think I was working at a cinema maybe around that time.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Suzume, I remember the trailer for it when we went to go do the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and like at my viewing, I remember Suzume's trailer playing before that film. So I was like, I
Really? Wow, okay.
yeah. So I'm like, I had the chance.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't get anything like that. I'm gutted. But and
I don't know if it was because Suzume was like it was like the Blu-ray release or something, so it was a trailer like that, or if it was in film like in the cinema. But like I do remember watching the trailer at the cinema. Like,
yeah. That's cool, man. No, I didn't get you. Like, I think we got trailers to like the Dungeons and Dragons movie or something like that at the time.
yeah, I think that was also in. But yeah, I just remember Suzume definitely was one of them as well because I was like, I specifically remember it's early morning. There's an anime thing on the screen, and then I remember two a dad and his kid to my left, slightly few rows ahead, and they were just talking
Mhm.
out loud. And I just remember the kid
Right.
being like, "Dad, what is this?" And he's like, "They're speaking Japanese," and I'm like, "Shut the fuck up."
Oh god, yeah, understandable in a screening of the Mario Bros. Movie, which was very much like very, very kid friendly to a Suzume film, which is like probably less like this is one thing as well. Like like Ghibli films,
Mhm.
like Totoro and like Spirited Away. Like if you saw them as a kid, I feel like they are like quite like kid friendly films. I'd say like maybe like I don't know like when you're like maybe 10 years old, you'd be like, oh cool, this is really good. Like maybe younger, you'd probably understand it as well. But like with these films, like a lot of Shinkai films, do you think as a
Yeah.
kid you'd get it as much? I feel like I'd be quite bored.
I would not have understood it as a kid.
No, I don't think I would have either. I think these are films that you could like kind of enjoy a bit more like when you get a bit older. Like as a
Mm,
kid, I'd be like, "Oh, what is this? I don't understand it as much." Like that's me. That's how I would have perceived it as a kid anyway. I was one of those kids where I was like, I want to see some fighting. If I want to see some cartoons, I want to see some guy punch someone, or I want to see some hilarious goofy shit. Like that would
yeah.
be my vibe as a kid. That this probably wouldn't be something I would enjoy when I
No,
was a kid.
this is more of a teens onward, like, and I mean like late
Yeah, I'd say.
teens, not like even early teens. Like maybe if
Mhm.
you're like 15 or 16, maybe,
I
but
think so,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking more like 17 onwards.
Yeah, that's when, like, you're trying like, I think, like, at 15, that's where you're kinda getting into, like, a bit more you're expanding your kind of, like, your pool of genres and stuff like that.
Mm,
I would have done anyway. I think at that point, I probably, like, would have been like, "Oh, okay, cool, I'll give this a shot." I'd be like, "Oh, I actually quite like this." Like, I'd probably that's the age that I think I'd be a bit more accepting of other things rather than being stubborn and be
yeah.
like, "I really wanna watch this." Like, um, yeah, as a young kid, I wouldn't have, like
No, these are definitely not films for kids because they
yeah.
just won't understand, and it's also like where it's slice of life. I
Mhm.
feel like
Yeah.
kids won't even relate to most of what's going on. That's the thing is
Mm.
like because they're high school students in the film, so like
Mhm.
around 16, 17 is like they're roughly the same age as the characters. So at least you could relate to like the school stuff, or maybe like not fitting
Mhm.
in or being different at school. You know what I mean? Like there's things you can relate to. Whereas like I don't know, if you're 10, are you really gonna care about this guy who has to go to work? You'll be like, oh, that man works. He's old.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you wouldn't really perceive it at all. Like with Ghibli films, like a lot of the main characters are quite they're kids really. Apart from
Yeah,
like the odd like few or like 3 or 4, which are like kind of more like The Wind Rises, for example.
yeah.
You wouldn't you wouldn't relate to that at all. Like Spirited Away, Totoro, you'd get those a lot more. Like, that's one thing. It's like that's a great thing about these kind of films, like especially with Ghibli as well. Like, I know this is we've gone off on a tangent here, but like with Ghibli, like there's a range of different films you can understand as a kid. Where like maybe Shinkai's films are more aimed at, like you said, like mid-teens, later teens onwards. Like you can understand them from that. But yeah, that's good. Is there anything else you want to say, Nathan, on Your Name at all? Like, is there any other points you want to bring up?
I would just recommend it, really. Again, it was not what I expected completely. There were things that
Mhm.
threw me off, but it was a very enjoyable experience. And honestly, I get it. I understand why it was so hyped,
Mhm.
why people were so into it. Like, yeah, it's if you haven't watched it and you've been interested, then please go do so. I don't think you'll be disappointed, honestly.
Yeah. It's one of those things like when you get recommended, you're like, oh, like why are people recommending this? But you see why. Like the emotion in this, like the animation, the story is so good. And that if anything, this I said it before, it makes me want to watch more Shinkai's films. Like, I've seen this, I'm like, I'm sold. Like I know there's 2 more now. I want to watch those, and I want to do it as soon as possible. That's like, that's honestly my thing, and it's a really enjoyable experience. Like you said, I'd recommend anyone to watch it. But there's that's our takeaway from this, I guess, guys. Thank you for listening to this Cultured Boys episode. Leave us a comment what you think about Your Name, and let us know what your favorite Shinkai films are. Like, obviously, we've mentioned the 3, but there's a bunch of other ones he's done.
Mm.
Like, if you recommend those, let us know. But again, thank you for listening. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell button for future Cultured Boys videos. Click the links in our description where we have our X and our podcast platforms there. And we see you guys next time for another Cultured Boys episode. Bye bye.
Bye.